I am sick and tired of being average. This stinks. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to be somebody. I want to be successful. I want to be a champion. Rub shoulders with the big dog. Whoop whoop. I don't want to simply survive. I want to thrive. I'm done being basic. I want to be elite. But man, look at all those celebrities. Look at all those athletes. Look at these businessmen. It seems like they have everything. How am I ever gonna get as good as them? It seems like it's almost impossible for me to get there. I feel you, dude. Self-improvement can seem daunting at times. We get overwhelmed with all the things we want to accomplish, and it almost seems unobtainable, especially when we compare ourselves to other guys that are way ahead of us in the game. Is it even possible to be elite in all aspects of your life? Listen up and know this. Becoming elite is way easier than you think it is. Being significantly more successful than the average man is incredibly accessible. The bar is so low that it would be funny if it wasn't so sad. Now, this video is not to shit on the average man. Quite the contrary. It's here to help the average man. But damn, dude. Well, you'll see what I mean in a minute. In this video, we're going to define what does it mean to be elite. Then we'll look at the cold, hard numbers of what the life of the average man is like. Finally, we'll assess and determine what it actually takes to be head and shoulders above the average guy. Let's do it. Part 1. Definitions. What does it mean to be elite? Elite. Adjective. Superior in rank, quality, skill, etc. The word elite is a word of comparison. In comparison to the average, to be elite is to be better than average. Contemplate this question. If you were better than the majority of people, let's say 60%, would that be elite? How about 70? 80? 90? Let's imagine that you're in the top 30%. That means 70% of people are worse off than you. Every time you go to a party and there's 10 people there, 7 of those 10 people aren't as cool as you. It's just you and 2 other dudes that are alpha as fuck mogging everybody else. Sounds pretty elite, yeah? Ultimately, you decide what elite means to you. Do you want to be top 30, top 20, top 10? Whatever you choose, keep that number in mind as we continue through the video. Then you can see how you measure up. For the sake of simplicity in this video, let's say reaching the target of top 30% is how you reach elite status, and then keep climbing from there. Moving on to Part 2, Anatomy of the Average Man. Let's look at the cold, hard numbers and statistics, and a few anecdotal observations about the average man and what he's like. Trigger warning, some of this data is older, and some of it is only specifically for the United States population, but this should still give us a good general idea of how we stack up. Health of the average man. Body weight. The average American is a fat ass. Surprise! The CDC reports that 72% of Americans are overweight or obese. Literally, just don't be fat and you're in the top 28%. The average man's exercise routine. Only 28% of Americans do the minimum requirements that the CDC suggests. 150 minutes a week of aerobic exercise at a moderate pace, and 2 days a week of one strength building exercise. Literally going for a walk for 20 minutes every day and lifting a little bit of weights twice a week puts you in the top 28%. How hard is that really? Average man's mental health. 14% of men experience mental health issues, but only 60% of men who have depression seek help. Men die 3.5 more times than women by unaliving themselves because of their depression. And these numbers are sadly growing in our society. If you're seeking to be elite, mental health is not something that you can ignore. If you took your mental health seriously and sought professional help for your problems, you would be mentally strong and healthy, and you would be able to take on any challenge in your life. Attractiveness of the average man. This is mainly dictated by the previous health stats, but there's a few other things to note. The average man and cologne. An old study from 2013 shows only 23% of men wear fragrance or cologne on a daily basis. You literally can hit elite smell status if you simply do a few sprays of a good cologne every single day before you leave the house. The average man and musical talent. We all know the bitches love musicians, right? Surprisingly, less than 30% of the population know how to play an instrument. Only 30% have learned to play the piano. Only 25% have learned to play guitar. Less than 10% play violin, and less than 5% play banjo. If you literally pick up any instrument and learn how to play it moderately well, you are elite. And if you learn how to sing while playing that instrument, it's over, dude. She's creaming for you. Here's some anecdotal evidence for attractiveness. At least in the States, most men wear baggy-ass t-shirts, baggy-ass pants, they wear dad shoes or dirty-ass work boots. Imagine if you had nicer, better-fitting t-shirts, nicer button shirts, higher-end jeans, chinos, a few slacks, clean sneakers, nice leather boots. You had a few accessories like watches, bracelets, necklaces. You have a few nice coats to wear for the wintertime, and you make sure that everything fits your body really well. Maybe even take some of it to the tailor. You don't need expensive designer clothes. You simply need to put in some damn effort into your wardrobe. You'll be god tier in comparison to the average slob. You could literally become elite in a weekend of shopping. Seriously. Sex life of the average man. When the average man's P is in her V, he lasts an average of about 5 minutes, 30 seconds. The average time for sex is around 5 to 10 minutes. That's not even half of an episode of Dragon Ball Z. If you take this seriously and put in effort to learn to last just 10 minutes longer, you'd be killing it, dude. You'd be giving her twice the amount of sex that the average man can give. You would literally be doubling her pleasure. And you can add even more time on top of that with more practice. Lasting longer in bed is absolutely a learnable and obtainable skill. Trust me, I know. When the average man gets together with the average woman to do the thing, the woman reaches climax 65% of the time. That's a little bit better than a coin flip, but still, we can improve this. Imagine if you took the time to research anatomy, study techniques, and practice with your partner so you can bring that percentage up to 80, 90% of the time. You would be a legend in her eyes, man. The average man's lifetime lay count is 7 different women. And also note that the amount of incels in the world are rising every year. Of the guys that do lose their virginity, only 28% of those guys will sleep with 15 women or more. So if you actually get laid and are able to achieve a number of 15 girls in your roster, you will be in the top 28% of men. Now, I am not saying you should or you should not strive to have a high body count. All I am saying, if you personally care about learning and becoming elite in the skill of bedding women, you will be in the top 28% if you get 15 girls or more. Some more anecdotal evidence. With every new generation spending more and more time on their screens, more and more time at home alone, social skills are getting worse over time. So believe me when I say, most guys do not speak to women regularly and ask them out on a date. The average guy doesn't know how to flirt, doesn't know how to create arousal. The average young guy isn't good at even making casual conversation with men. If you learn the skill of approaching, chatting, small talk, flirting, and asking girls out on dates, you are literally god tier in comparison to the average dude. Let's talk about money. The average man's income. I didn't want to use an actual average income because, as we know, especially in the States, there's just a few people that have billions and billions of dollars. So if we take the total amount of money and divide by the total amount of people, the majority of people are going to seem like they're making more money than they are. So instead, I decided to use percentile. Let's say a particular wage is at a 60th percentile. That means that 60% of the population makes less than that amount, and then 40% make more than that. I found this really cool calculator online that took the data from 2021, and here's what I found. $68,000 a year puts you at the 70th percentile, meaning that 70% of Americans make less than $68K a year. That means you would be in the top 30% of earners. $88,000 a year puts you in the 80th percentile. You would be at the top 20% of earners. $130K a year puts you at the 90th percentile, or the top 10% of earners in the US. Now remember, the government's printing money like crazy, things are changing rapidly, but this is a pretty good reality check, would you not agree? The average American savings, 57% of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings account. 85% of Americans have less than $10K in their savings. The average amount of credit card debt in December of 2022 was $7,279. The average amount of college loans, 37,338 federal loans, and then $54,921 in private loans. That is depressing. The average man's time-wasting habits. 72% of young men play games often. The average gaming session is 2 to 4 hours. The average guy in porn. The average guy watches 70 minutes a week on porn. Each session is about 15 minutes. And let's be real, the average guy is jerking it while he's watching. The average Netflix subscriber spends 3.2 hours a day on the platform. The average time spent on social media, 2 hours and 30 minutes a day. The average man fills every spare moment of his time with distractions. No wonder the average guy is fat, broke, ugly, and unhealthy. Finally, Section 3, Assessment and Solutions. Whew, that was a real bloodbath, wasn't it? Remember, this video is not to put down the average man, but you can't help but cringe at how bad it is. The point of this video is to have a clear picture of what it takes to perform higher than the average person and give ourselves a clear set of obtainable, realistic goals. So in review, this is what it takes to be an elite top 30% male. Make $68K a year or higher. Accumulate $10,000 in your savings account. Pay off your credit card, school loans, and other debt as soon as possible. Take your mental health seriously and get professional help. Don't be fat. Walk and lift consistently on a weekly basis. Wear well-fitting, fashionable clothes on a regular basis. Wear cologne or fragrance daily. Flirt with girls and chat with strangers regularly. Learn to play one instrument moderately well. If it matters to you, achieve a lay count of 15 or higher. Last 15 minutes or longer in bed. Learn the skill of helping a woman reach climax on a regular basis. Rarely play video games. Rarely watch porn or jerk off. Extremely minimal time on social media and Netflix. And that is it. Guys, the bar is so extremely low. Literally, just achieve half of what we've talked about, and you will be killing it in comparison to the average guy. In conclusion, I hope everybody understands that we need to stop comparing ourselves to the guys that are at the very, very top. If we do that, we're far more likely to seem like it's unachievable and then give up. I don't want you to quit. I want you to win. If you compare yourself to the average guy, you'll have a more realistic perspective of where you stack up in society. That way, you'll be more grateful and optimistic with every new bit of progress you make. Maybe top 30 isn't good enough for you. Dude, that's great. Shoot for top 20. Shoot for top 10. Do it, man. Just remember that you have to make it to the top 30 before you make it to the top 20, right? Get out there and be elite. I hope this was helpful. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you like what you heard. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. What are your goals? What do you define as being elite? I'm Chris. This is Action Savage. I love you, man.